Shreveport Fire Chief Scott Wolverton here for a little bit. Hey, Mr. Scott, welcome back to Kiel. How you doing this morning?
I'm pretty good. Good morning, y'all.
Well, the Ford Park incident, let's call it, from a few days ago. Let's start with the big picture. What happened? What can you tell us?
Well, we had some crews respond to a medical emergency at that location early Sunday evening. Arrived on scene, began providing medical services to that citizen. During the performance of their duties, there was a large crowd that was in close proximity, and for whatever reason, they began throwing water balloons at the firefighters and speaking some offensive remarks to them. To say it caught them off guard is an understatement. They chose to, once the medic unit got there, they chose to quickly load the patient and exit the unsafe scene. And that's what our firefighters are taught to do. If the scene becomes unsafe, you're supposed to get out of it immediately.
The remarks that were made, some have called them racial slurs. How would you describe what they were shouting at them?
Right now, I don't know the exact verbiage that was used. I'm still doing our investigation, getting some information from the crews that were on scene. So I really don't know the exact verbiage that was used. They were, from what the crew described to me, they were very offensive remarks.
Fire department, first responders, EMT guys, fired. How many Shreveport Fire people were there on the scene when all this happened?
We had an engine company and a medic unit, so it was probably about a total of 5 to 6 personnel on scene.
So let's say a half dozen, and the crowd surrounding them was, some people have said, in the neighborhood of 200. Is that an exaggeration, or is that close?
The company officer on scene described it between 200 and 300 people.
Did police arrive on the scene?
Or were they already there?
Were they already there? What exactly happened when they showed up, if they did?
Yeah, it's my understanding that our guys called the police. And they got there just about time for them to assist our firefighters getting their medic unit and their engine company away from the scene. So they were able to assist there. I know that there was one arrest made, according to Chief Raymond. I'm not sure if that was. I don't think that dealt with someone potentially assaulting our firefighters, because I'm not sure if they were able to, point out anybody who specifically. Through the water balloon or made the offensive remarks. But, there's an ordinance that we have. It's Section 3033 in the Code of Ordinance for the City of Shreveport, and it says it shall be unlawful for any person to obstruct, delay, hinder, or impede any member of the fire department while engaged in the discharge of his duties. So these were illegal acts, according to our Code of Ordinances. So to say I'm greatly concerned, I am. This is a trend that we are seeing across the country over the last few years, to be honest with you, if you've done any research on it. These things do happen to firefighters now. It's just we're just trying with our best practices, before we go into a scene, we try to make sure and determine it's safe. If we're there and it becomes unsafe, then we do the best to protect our firefighters and exit and protect who we're trying to help. The way we look at it, if we get harmed or hurt, we can't help who called us to help. And that's why we were called, was to help a citizen that was having a medical emergency.
Talking to Chief Scott Wolverton, Shreveport Fire Department. Chief Ben Raymond sent me this response. No arrests were made. We responded to several calls on Sunday regarding loud music, loitering, and water balloons being thrown at citizens. Officers detained one person for throwing a water balloon at another individual, but the victim did not want to pursue charges. You're saying today, if we know who was throwing a water balloon at firefighters, you want them arrested. You're ticked.
Well, it's definitely a violation of the Code of Ordinance, and when firefighters respond, someone's called us to help them, and many times their greatest time of need, and no one should impede or delay or hinder them being able to provide that service. It could be someone's life, and so that's kind of it's very concerning to me and very discouraging to me that our firefighters who were there providing emergency medical pre-hospital care for this patient, and they were treated this way. So it's, to say I'm concerned is definitely a a definitive statement.
Mr. Scott, you said a couple of seconds ago it's a trend nationwide, the harassment of first responders. Is it a trend in Shreveport? Is it something that is concrete? Is it something that you've seen here? And if it is, A, what do you do? B, is there any special training? Is there any additional training? What do you tell guys when they know that they could be in danger on a call?
Yes, sir. We haven't seen the trend here. You know, there are some calls that we go into that become unsafe and we exit, but this would have to be. We've had a few in the past, but we haven't had any in a while. And you know, as I said a while ago, we train our firefighters. They're always, first thing is the scene safe to enter into. And there's many calls that we go to, we don't even enter until the police department are on scene, and they've secured it and they've advised us, hey, the scene is safe. You know, and those are some of those very violent scenes that we respond to help someone who's hurt. So those things are already in place. We many times we will stage before going into an area that could be hostile until we determine that it is safe. You know, from the police. The main thing is for our members is, you know, your safety comes first, because if you get harmed or hurt, you can't help who called. So their safety comes first, and they're trained just like they did Sunday evening when it became unsafe to exit as expeditiously as possible and as safely as possible and protect yourself and your patient. And that's exactly what they did.
Chief, do you get some of the blowback of the anger that's kind of bubbling up in our community against police? Do you think firefighters are getting some of that now? Is that kind of maybe what this is?
You know, Aaron, I'm not sure. I know, you know, sometimes our uniforms look kind of the same, but you know, I'd really hate to try to make that parallel. I can tell you this, for the most, I would say the large percentage of people in this city, when they call the fire department, we have a public trust in this patch that, you know, we're complete strangers to them. But because we wear this patch, they'll open their door up to us. They'll allow us to walk in their home. They'll give us their most precious thing in their entire life, maybe their child or their mother, their father, and say, hey, we need you to help us. And we value that. We try to guard that public trust. And, you know, it's just going forward, you know, we always want to do that, and we'll continue to do that. But now you have to just be a little bit more vigilant and have situational awareness, you know, when you enter someone's home or you go into a scene like that. And that's just the kind of the world we live in today.
Shreveport Fire Chief Scott Wolverton, thanks for your time today, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I appreciate it.